let me explain to you what this whole thing is about. So I'm building a tower inspired by Tower of Babel. When we read this in the Old Testament, we hear that in the old time, people wanted to build this tower to reach God. And God realized that it's going to be competition to reach God. Why to reach me? So God, he or she, decided to eliminate this competition and said, I'm cursing you. I'm going to change your languages so you're not going to be able to communicate. Whatever language they were speaking, all of a sudden they couldn't communicate. And I thought about this idea. I said, I'm usually in my nature, I'm an optimistic person. And I decided to take the curse and to make a blessing out of it. So maybe that was the beginning of the diversity. So this entire project is, I'm trying to explore how in that moment we started to become who we are. From that moment on, we blossomed and we have this incredible wealth of civilizations that sprung out of this. So it's kind of a mirror to everyone look at the piece and sees themselves in it. Those little compartments are kind of, each one is every individual looking into it. So all of us are into this piece between languages and heritage and whatever we think about it, we're in. And I wanted this time to create something brings us all together, because now everyone wants to be an individual, everyone wants to be very unique. It's fine, there's nothing wrong about it, but how about once to be in front of a piece that think we are, all of us, connected somehow. So it's about that. The idea of layers, I create part that is visible, and the other part is hidden behind. So the part is visible, it's very similar, almost what you see above ground, buildings, nature, and there's lots of interesting things happening below the ground. So metaphorically, it could be your own culture, your own history, that when you're standing, you realize there's something from beneath you, it just gives you this inspiration and ideas. So I put all the writings and symbolism kind of below the ground. That would be seen from cutouts, from the windows, from the doors. And so the top part, it will be the facade, the bottom part will be almost like roots, different sounds of different languages. When I'm creating, thinking about Armenian language, Arabic, Sumerian, Hebrew, whatever it comes to my mind, in my mind I'm doing this gibberish talk and writing, but everything is reversed because it's monotype. So through all this cutouts, you will see this gibberish, kind of the miscommunication, which was the birth of the diversity in this piece for me. I have the idea that the building is very similar to where I grew up. I grew up in Aleppo, and it just intuitively, I would love to create facade of the buildings from my memory, and just a bit chaotic, because I remember the city was like that, built on top of each other, different temples and between church and synagogue and mosque and homes and all this on top of each other. So I want to create that feeling, but at the same time I want to give a sense of beauty and culture. It's very important in the works to show that all these places, they were home for very dense and rich civilizations. So when you enter any of those tiny small homes from outside, it looks very small. Once you go in, it is incredible, huge courtyards. And so I want to recreate this thing from imagination, but at the same time I want to put behind every door different symbolism of different languages and different faiths and different cultures. Basically, the entire structure is about the diversity. So here, my wonderful assistants, they're trying to cut out the windows and the doors of the facade of this tower. And the main idea of this piece is the languages are hidden behind. It's kind of the core of the tower. So any visible place it's going to give you the idea of inside there are different languages. It's 100% cotton, Egyptian cotton, by accident, by sheer accident. I was in Armenia, they didn't have the paper, large paper size, and I was part of this important group show. I had to come up with an alternative. I went to the local fabric store. I said, what do you have large white material and natural? And they said, this is it. It's very cheap, take it. So I bought like 60, 70 meters, and I did my experiments, and now the next thing is I only work on fabric. So what I'm doing, I'm keeping from here to 10 centimeters not cut out, because there's a wood to support this fabric. From here on, this will be all cut to expose the writing underneath. This will be cut from here on. This will be cut, this will be cut. The process is printing and drawing, printing and drawing. So it's all one process. I draw and I press, and I continue drawing on the top. So it's an original piece. It's not printing. It's drawn on the fabric. Yeah. So of course this is going to go all the way at the end, but to show you, this is half the process. It's not the full process, because this is my signature. So without this, the piece will stay half done. This idea of going from fabric to the end of the installation, which could look like rock, it's fascinating for me. When you look at what you see in the window from distance, I don't think you can imagine that could be this very soft fabric. And it's all about our perception. When you look at something, we have lots of memory and ideas, and sometimes without even thinking, we accept those ideas and we say, oh, this is water, this is fabric. But sometimes we should give thought about what you're seeing, and it could be something interesting and new, and it could change the idea of the way you see things. And this completely changed my life when I started moving from paper to fabric. And especially fabric, almost like it becomes white limestones. And limestone is native stone to Aleppo. And my first experiment of creating little sculptures when I was maybe 8 or 10, it was all on limestone because it's soft, and the result is very, from distance, is very hard, and once you touch it, it's very soft, and it becomes like this practice of fabric that turns into stone. Yeah, I think probably this is the biggest project I've ever done in my life. I'm curious to see the result, sculpture drawing.